Hello, welcome back to Drawing with Mr. Kane. Glad you could join me today. You see, when I'm holding my pencils, I have a big handful, and these are called giant pencils. You might have the thinner ones at home. I like working with the thick ones because I can draw faster that way. I can fill more space. I try to keep them sharp, but I draw so much that they get worn down. And it's a tool you can use if you know that you're going to be trying to fill like a large space. You can let it get a little bit rounded instead of keeping it sharp. If you're drawing people or characters, you want to keep it fairly sharp. Now, when we draw, sometimes we outline things, and that's called cartooning. It comes from the Italian word cartouche. What they used to do if they were painting a ceiling, they would take a piece of paper, draw the outlines, and poke holes all along the piece of paper, stick it up against the ceiling, and pat ashes against it, kind of a charcoal dust. And that would stick into the wet plaster, and that would give them the outlines where they would paint. Because when you're painting something really big, it's hard to see, but we're drawing small, so try not to outline everything. In this picture, I think what we'll do is let's do nighttime. We haven't worked on a nighttime scene. And the difference between daytime and nighttime is nighttime colors are more blue because we don't have what we call the saturated color of the things around us. We have the light, and you say it's moonlight, but really it's the sunlight hitting the moon and bouncing back onto things. So it's creating more of a blue, purple, and green color. So we're not going to use a lot of bright colors at night unless we have something that's lit up. In our picture, well, the first thing we want to do is we're going to put the moon in here somewhere. And always make it a little bigger than you think you need to, because you can always make it smaller, but it's hard to make it bigger because you've already filled in white. But it's good to have a good eraser around. And what we're going to do is we're going to use lots of little lines. And it's really hard to do a circle. And like I say, we're not outlining because we want the feeling more than just the shape. So we want all these little lines, make it feel like it's more glowing. So I'm going to go one more time around, and the second row, which is going to be a little bit darker. And the way I make it darker, of course, is that I push harder. Now, often in the sky you see stars, and people talk about twinkling stars, but really what's happening is when you're looking at a star, since your eye is mostly water, the bright light from a star is actually a sun, somebody else's sun, far, far away. And when it's coming through the atmosphere is the air of our world. The atmosphere is made up of water. Your eye is made up of water. And so there's always a little bit of motion in water. And so that causes it to waver just a little bit. So we call it twinkling. So let's use a couple different colors. We're going to put just some stars in here, and we're going to do them as crosses. We're not going to do the geometrical one, the mathematical star. Right now we're just going to do little stars. So it's going to be a longer line and a shorter line. And we'll put in maybe, I'll put in a couple pink ones, and then maybe I'll put in a couple orange ones. This is just so we have somewhere to put around for our nighttime. And what we're going to do there is we're going to go, when we're coloring around, then when we get to a star shape, we're kind of going to go around it the same way we went around the moon, but it's going to keep on going across our paper. And of course, when we get to the moon, we're going to want to try to keep. And you know what I did? I forgot to put a line around my paper so to give myself a place to go off, because you can see now right up here, I'm not keeping a straight edge because I'm bumping against that tape. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll put a line around the edge of the paper so I don't have to go off my paper to keep making my drawing. I'm not going to be able to do this whole drawing for you. You're going to have to invent some of this picture yourself. But you can see how when I'm going around things, I kind of get a movement in my sky. And the other color for my sky is there's three colors I'm going to be using, and that's purple, green, and blue. So you see right here I've put the green on. If I take and put purple on there, and I have light and purple and I have dark purple. So you see then I get this, it almost starts to look like a dark blackish color. I don't want to use just black because the world really is not as black as you think it is. It's kind of different shades or different colors. And even shadows aren't black. Shadows are the color of the thing that it's on. Like if I'm drawing an apple, I'm drawing the shadow of the apple on top of a table. So it'll be just a darker color of whatever that table is. I might want to, when I go across there, I might want to add a little bit of color, maybe some oranges or golden colors after I've put in all the darkness, just to make it look kind of interesting. So I've got that kind of sky started, so I want to just, so we don't run out of time while you're working with me, I kind of want to get in some shapes of trees. So I'm going to, see this white line right here? I'm going to make my sky go, so this will be a line of trees right here. And the line of trees is just going to be where I end up leaving out my sky there. So I have these big stars too, and I can, if towards here, I can kind of go in a little bit. Kind of fill in, blend in with colors. And maybe I'll even kind of blend it this way. Now a lot of you will have watercolor pencils, so that that means if you get them wet, they're soluble. Mine are made with, instead of having a watercolor base, they have wax. So, and now I can kind of, I'm going to go back in and I'm going to kind of make kind of a roundness for my moon. I'm going to just make it a little bit smaller by going very lightly round and round and round and round and round until I get a rounded shape. And I might, you know, if I wanted to take some time there, I could even just go in and draw a couple little craters that you could see from far, far away. And I'm going to brighten up my stars a little bit. Okay, so the trees, which are right down in here, they're going to be darker than, and what I think I want to have is right about here, I want to have a road coming from between this set of trees and this set of trees. So I'm going to leave that kind of light. See how it gets, it's really small when it takes the corner and gets really big as it goes off the page. See how much room I'm taking to make it look like it's far away here and really close when it comes here. So these are trees in the nighttime. So if I'm going to do them with any green at all, it's going to be a blue-green. And even then, and see how I'm doing it kind of like a fan shape? I'm going and over this way, maybe I'll add in I'm keeping the tops just a little bit lighter to show the tops of where the trees are, because trees, kind of like your hand, they flare out like that, you know. So each one of these would be a branch on the tree. And so and this is kind of like you draw waves in the ocean too. You color in the part that kind of goes up to the next wave. In this case, it's the next branch. But you leave a little bit of lightness between those areas. And of course, when it starts to come down here, then we'll be adding in tree trunks. And the only thing, that kind of looks like a person, doesn't it? Sometimes you have these happy little things that happen on your paper that you're not even thinking about how they got there, so it's up to you to look at it and go, oh, well, maybe I should have a person over there. Doing art is all about making choices. But we try to do things like, you know, we try to keep the bottom of the tree thicker than the top of the tree, and some of these trees which are farther back are maybe going to have a different coloring to them. And see how I'm doing one side here in blue because the moon is blue? And when I get down to being where I'm near done, I'm just going to fill in this whole area right here. And so way back here are a whole another set of trees. So I'm going to do those in more of a blue color because they're farther away. And I don't have to work as hard at making each one of those look like a tree. But I want to keep this road almost white. See, all these lines are going up and down. So if I take these lines and make them go across, your eye will first see, when it's looking at the picture, will first see this nice little curve here. And then it'll see where the lines stop and where these lines stop too. So this will help draw your eye to the road, because that's kind of the main part of our story. If we were doing like a Halloween story, we might have a horseman kind of riding down that road. Let's see, I'm kind of taking more time on this than I take on most of my other pictures. See, I'm going to go back in here. I'm going to add some colors. Now over here, I also want to have I want to have trees, and I probably should not have it a whole lot higher up there, but like I say, if you don't have blue-green, then you're going to have to go right over, and you use green, you're going to have to go right over the top of it and blend those colors together. Because everything I like about drawing is that you put colors on top of colors, and you learn by watching what happens when you draw right over the top of something else. So things that are farther away from you often feel like they're a little bit lighter, because remember we talked about atmosphere at the beginning? Well, the atmosphere it's kind of like the fog. So things kind of get lighter and blurrier as they go off in the distance. So light things get a little bit darker as they go further away. So what we want to do is like we were drawing something that was really light. We want to keep the lightest spot for right next to us. So if we're drawing this road, we'd want to maybe make it just a little bit darker in this area here, and leave it a little bit lighter here, and right where the moonlight's hitting it over here. So I went over this area here with blue, and now I'm going over it with green, and maybe up in the sky I've done this part dark, but I didn't get to this area for darkness. So you're going to have to do that on your own there. But I'm going to put a little bit of light purple in along here. And it's always going to be lighter by where the moon is. So I've gotten to this part. You're going to have to figure out this part. You're going to kind of keep your trees like this. See how they kind of have, it's like a cloud only with green leaves, basically. But then they have at the bottom, they have their trunks. Now this tree right here is a lot closer to me than this tree right here. So it's bigger and it's thicker. Not because it really is bigger and thicker, it just looks that way because it's closer. If you want to try that out, all you have to do is look at something across the room and go, it's that big, and then you go and you put it over here, and no, it's totally a different size. So if I'm looking at you right now, your head's about this big, but you know your head is as big as mine. That's called perspective. Perspective means you as a person. Spec means what you see. Per-spec, what I see. Thank you. Go outside, and as always, have fun, be safe, and I'll see you at the next drawing lesson.